Bring John in here, John McMullen from 97.3 ESPN.com, as we get ready for a offseason of moves, and we see an interesting one to start things off today. John, as we bring you in here, the first one we'll get into is it looks like Matt Forte's time in Chicago has come to an end. Not a huge surprise there, but do you anticipate that Forte will be a big, get a big deal on the market, or are you going to start to see that these running backs are going to find work and pay hard to find?
Yeah, it is. I'm sure he might be able to claim that scarf, but as far as being a high level, everybody but Chip Kelly, we always talk about this, is going a different direction at the running back position. And the mentality around the league is to not allocate a lot of salary cap assets toward that position. Now, this guy's interesting, though, because he's getting up there, obviously in age for a running back. He's taken a pounding. He's taken a lot of touches over the years. But he's still been very effective, and he's a three-down running back, and that's getting rarer and rarer. A guy, he can leave on the field. He can run the football for you. He's a tremendous pass receiver out of the backfield, and he can pick up the blitz. So that's becoming sort of like an endangered species in the NFL. So that's one of the guys I'm really interested to see how much interest he really has. And he's going to have interest. It's just I think there could be a bidding war when people start to see, hey, this guy could really help us.
I agree with you, and I wonder, but after last year with the Eagles giving Murray all that money, if teams are going to start, and then, McCoy was traded and signed a big extension. If teams, again, the running back was kind of getting phased out, and then we saw a couple of rookies come in, specifically Gurley, and it was like, oh, well, now the running back's back. But I don't know now if, after Murray and to some extent McCoy, if you're going to start to see teams, again, kind of say, look, we don't need to pay these running backs.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, look at who won the Super Bowl. You're talking about C.J. Anderson and Ronnie Hillman, so it's not exactly Adrian Peterson. And the mentality is, look, you have to take care of certain positions. Obviously, it starts with quarterback. You need to get pass rushers. You need to get tackles, offensive tackles. You need to get lockdown corners. Running back is way down on the list. It's nice to have. It's a nice luxury. If you have a Hall of Fame level running back, you certainly don't, wipe your nose at it. You don't sneer at it, but it's just not necessary in today's NFL. The game has changed to the point where it's about spread offenses, and that's the forward thinking in this league, is that it's just not as important as a position.
John, a lot of talk about Peyton Manning. Will it be his final, was that his final game? If it is his final game, what do you think is next for Manning? Is he a guy like Elway? Does he get in a front office? Is he a broadcaster? Does he just fade off into the sunset and we don't see him, very often? Where do you think the future holds, or does he sign with another team?
I don't think he's going to sign. I really don't. I think this is a chance for him, and he understands, to go out on top. And people have talked about the L.A. Rams, and I think the last thing you want to do, I wrote about it this week on today's Pigskin, is, he just went out like John Elway. He went out on top. Do we really want to see him as Joe Namath in a Rams uniform limping off the field? I just think he's smart enough to avoid that. As far as what he wants to do next, I mean, this is a guy who's made $250 million in his NFL career. So he doesn't have to do anything. It's what he wants to do. If you ever saw him on Saturday Night Live, he's got a tremendous dry sense of humor. I think he would be great on television. If he wants to be a general manager type, I think he's smart enough to understand, just like Elway, what it takes to build a winning team. I think he can do whatever he wants to do. The question is, he's made so much money, does he want to go through that grind?
John, I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens with him next, because he certainly is, I don't know, one of the top 3 quarterbacks of all time, right? I mean, I don't know. That Super Bowl certainly helped him out for the people who had some doubts. I know he didn't have a big part of that Super Bowl, but to say 2-time Super Bowl winner certainly helps him out, and you wonder what the next phase of his life will be because, it's not an easy decision for a lot of those guys.
No, and I think you're right. I think it helps his legacy with the casual fan. I think the people that cover the game and understand the game, they already knew he was one of the best 5 quarterbacks that ever lived. To me, greatness is always, I always tell you, is defined by consistency and longevity. There's never been a more consistent quarterback. If Peyton Manning was your starter, you basically knew you had 10 wins in your pocket before the ball kicked off in week 1, and you went from there. And that's pretty nice. There's not a lot of guys who can say that. So he's always been one of the greatest. But, yeah, I think that second one, even though it's so similar to John Elway, it's almost eerie because John Elway was great when he was losing Super Bowls. He wasn't that good when he was winning Super Bowls. And that's similar to Peyton. He was getting all the criticism when he was carrying teams very, very far that probably maybe shouldn't have went that far. And all of a sudden, he's carried by Von Miller and company to his second Super Bowl title. And 10 years from now, nobody's going to remember that. They're just going to say the guy won 2.
John, if you could, for the listeners out there, I know the LaShawn McCoy stuff, there's a lot of layers to this, but what is the latest on that? And, is it a possibility that he could miss a couple games?
Yeah, I definitely think that's a possibility. Shady, and this is one of the reasons why Chip Kelly was right to get rid of him, not just the fact that salary cap hit and the fact that he got a linebacker that seemed at the time to have a high ceiling as a player that had a much lower cap number. Didn't work out. Hopefully it works out next year with Kiko Alonso. I think that trade made so much sense on so many levels. You see LaShawn McCoy, he gets in this trouble. What happens? There's a website in Philadelphia that finds him out at another bar, the day later talking about it. This is a guy who just doesn't get it. Now, that said, I don't think it was fair of Jim Kennedy, the Philadelphia mayor, to come out and say some of the things he said today. And that while McCoy obviously made a mistake, I don't think there's any doubt he's going to be charged. He's likely going to be prosecuted. I don't think by any stretch of the imagination he knew he was beating up Philadelphia cops. So that part of it I don't think was fair. But the fact of the matter is this guy has had a history of this. And whether it's arguing with his child's mother on Twitter, whether it's throwing a stripper off a party bus, whether it's the 20-cent tip, he's just not mature. And he's got to learn from these things, and hopefully at some point it clicks in.
All right, John, of course, we'll keep our eye on this story. More from John over at 973ESPN.com. Obviously, we'll be keeping an eye on Sam Bradford if that franchise tag gets pulled out of the Eagles' back pocket sometime next week. And, of course, we'll catch up with John on the latest NFL offseason news on the show. Thanks, John.
Hey, thank you, Mike.